In Wiltshire County, England, there have been reported sightings of UFOs, crop circles, ancient monuments, and other supernatural phenomena. It is said that these sightings center around a singular location that some people call the UK's Area 51. Today we're going to discuss Rudloe Manor. This is Red Web. Welcome to the new year. We got another mystery to kick it all off. I'm Trevor Collins, and joining me as always is Alfredo Diaz.
Bring that mic nice and close. Are we doing aliens?
We're doing aliens.
We get extraterrestrial?
There's a little nugget in here that I'm excited to get to, but ultimately this isn't necessarily like a traditional mystery that we've covered.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about Rudloe Manor, and eventually we'll talk about Area 51 in particular, but this is something I wasn't really super informed on.
Wait, manor like an actual like manor type area?
It might be that kind of UK, England finesse that they put on their words, right? They're, like manor as in like a property or like,
true,
the X-Men mansion.
Like UFOs up in this house? Like, that's interesting.
You know what? Maybe it is like Professor X's mansion, but it's like Rudloe's Manor for extraordinary aliens.
I feel like being a part of like Xavier's school for the gifted would be awesome at first, and then you realize, oh, I actually have to go to school still. Like, there's actual still classes. Like Storm is teaching math, but like that's awesome, but still math.
Right? You're like, I thought I was really cool, but now I'm super normal, and I got to do calculus.
Well, now Christian's not here today. We're doing aliens, so I can't sneak in the like Welcome to Earth and all the other like movie references because this is a movie podcast. So.
Well, we do have Ben, who is standing in for Christian today. You can hop on the mic if you want, but Ben, I don't know if you know, this is Rooster Teeth's #1 movie podcast about mysteries. So he's pointing to his head. He's a little shy.
Yeah,
he's shy today.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't turn his mic on.
That'll do it.
But yeah.
I am a firm believer that aliens
rock hard believer, in fact,
exist in some way, shape, or form.
Sure.
Now, do I feel like their Area 51 is real or that we've come into contact with aliens? I don't know.
Yeah.
But like you're telling me that we're the only living intelligent beings in the entire universe? No. Like we will
not in that favor.
We will probably never meet them or see them or whatnot. But it's ridiculous to think that we're the only like living intelligent beings in the entire universe, the ever expanding universe.
Right, exactly. Odds are not that great that we're super alone. However, you got the Fermi Paradox, which is to say, where are the aliens? You want me to? I'll do like a. Explain it like I'm 5 version because listen, I'm basically understanding it like I'm 6. So Fermi Paradox basically saying, where are all the aliens? Because the odds are boom. So simplified, it's huge, but we're talking localized to your galaxy or your local supercluster or whatever, basically a cluster of galaxies, right? Because there are massive voids out there that are immense, incalculably, unfathomably
small
immense
speck. We are a blink in the universe's like lifespan.
Yeah. So basically, the Fermi Paradox states like, if we are already looking to interstellar travel, if we're already at that stage of researching it, and remember, like 100 years ago, we were just starting to fly. 120 years ago, we were just starting to drive. So, and like it's the late 60s, we go to space. So if on that time frame, we are already looking out to space and traveling far distances and trying to reach high speeds, then it stands to reason that there are or would have been other aliens or persons or people or things out there that could do the same. And so if you then say, okay, even at like 10% or less the speed of light, somewhere around there, it would only take a few 100 million years to populate the entire galaxy. And the universe has been around for billions and billions of years, like 13 to 14 billion years. So if that's the case, and we have this like exponential growth of technology and expansion, where is everybody? Or are they out there and just they bubbled us up and they're keeping quiet until we stop infighting? It's hard to know.
No, completely, right? We could just be a planet in which they think that's just like, oh, they haven't quite developed as advanced, right? And when they do, and if they settle their differences, then they can join the Galactic Alliance or something.
Right.
I'm like, oh man, I love space.
I love space too, but
I love all the sci-fi stuff. What? Huh?
You just put some fear into me. Even with all that happiness and sunshine that you just spoke, I still had some doom crop up, because here's the thing. Imagine the day that we finally hit global peace, right? Poverty's not an issue. Everyone gets to eat. We all come to a mutual understanding, and we all love each other. Everything is great, and we hit this utopia, this theoretical utopia. And then suddenly from the heavens,
the covenant
settles down and says, we welcome you into our covenant, and you can be a part of the Galactic Alliance. And we're like, that sounds like a pretty good deal. You know, scientific exploration expands, our understanding expands, but then new problems, new ideas, new problems, more money, more problems. Suddenly you have intergalactic wars now, and then you're looking for intergalactic peace. And then I just feel like it just never ends, you know?
Yeah, but there's always going to be a downside, right?
That's true.
I would
just want to be that one generation that slips in just for that little happy phase.
Yeah, just for that split happy phase. I think it'd be great. And the advancements of if there was some kind of galactic council, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they most likely, if you're accepted into it, are able to share technology and learn.
Yeah.
And so the type of advancements that we can get past, you know what I mean? And the cures and how we project ourselves. But I don't know. We're all idiots on this one.
We're all pretty idioted. We're idioted. But I mean, maybe that's a condition for joining is peace. And so maybe there is no fighting after that. But you know what? If we can come up with the MCU, we just came off of Spider-Man, you and I, yesterday.
Oh my God.
I won't get you started. I would love to get started.
Oh my God. Don't get us started. This would be the whole damn thing.
If we can come up with the MCU, think about the MCU that the aliens have. We got so many more franchises to consume.
Damn.
Think of the comics they've written.
They're living their galactic verse.
People are talking about space travel and teleportation and time travel. And I'm like, think of the comics.
Think of the blockbuster hit films that could come from this.
Anyway,
here's my question. Do you? I mean, we've made advancements, but I feel like space travel has slowed down. I mean, scratch away the last maybe 4 years. I feel like it's very much slowed down.
It's definitely slowed down because when you look at things like the funding behind it all is definitely it's pretty minimum.
Yeah.
But then you have the rise.
Heavily.
It's true. But then you have the rise of private space exploration.
Exactly.
You have Virgin Galactic and Blue Horizon or Blue Bell,
SpaceX,
Blue Origin, whatever they're called, Amazon's thing.
Yeah.
Basically low atmospheric tourism. And then you got SpaceX doing their thing,
Jeff Bezos.
not withholding opinions on Elon Musk or whatever. But, they're still scratching away. And I think there's a lot of research happening. And so, we're not necessarily busting out into space and kicking down doors, but there's a lot still happening in that arena. And I mean, do you
think we'll be, in our lifetime, do you think you and I would be able to go to space? With not like FU money, but a decent amount,
like a splurge, like $1,000 ticket.
Maybe not. Maybe like
10,000,
10, 20 grand.
Yeah,
get to go to space.
Yeah, I think it's possible because again, remember how exponential growth of technology is. The only thing that will reset it is like a global war or a solar flare.
EMP.
Yeah, an EMP. Something cataclysmic that you can't plan for. But I mean, assuming everything goes as one would hope. I can see that for sure.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're already thinking about Mars, right?
Yeah.
And that's in the next decade. And then you have the James Webb Telescope. This is way outside the episode.
Yeah.
No. This is my bread and butter. I'm an aerospace engineer by background,
also,
so this is my goodness.
This is what Trevor was going
But we got the James Webb Telescope going up soon.
We have a mystery about dentistry. I'm like, dig in a little bit.
The mystery about where did the cavity come from?
Where did the tooth fairy come from?
Oh my God, a cryptid episode on the tooth fairy? Woo-hoo! That'd be wild. A dark take on the tooth fairy? Well, the James Webb Telescope supposedly, and again, this is explaining it like I'm two now, can supposedly see beyond the Big Bang. I'm hyper simplifying, but this thing, I'm so stoked. I've been stoked for the last, ever since I first heard about it, for this thing to go up. And I think it's launching either this month, as of the recording of this, December 2021, or sometime soon. Because what happened was, at some point, they dropped the thing and they finished it and they dropped it.
And there was like,
and so they're like,
we got other stuff to do.
And then it was totally fine. And so
they actually dropped it.
Yeah. It dropped like a sudden drop.
Didn't like Christopher Nolan like mess up one of the IMAX cameras?
Not equivalent, but yes.
I mean,
one of like the 3 that exist. Yeah. Wild times. But I mean,
it just brought that to my head.
So the telescope, it's fine. It's going up, and it's going to be, if you think the Hubble is impressive, this thing is going to blow its saddle off. Like, damn. I'm so excited for what the insight that this thing is going to bring us at the L4 Lagrange point. It's just going to sit there way out beyond Earth and the moon, away from the sun. So it's on the opposite side, so it can't be really affected by the sun. And it is geostationary way out there from us. And it just kind of orbits around the sun with us. And it just looks out deep into space. I'm super excited about it.
That's so sick. That's so cool.
Another deep dive for another day. But let's talk about Rudloe Manor, another area that honestly I hadn't really known much about. But a lot of people, like I said, refer to this as the UK, the United Kingdom's Area 51.
Yeah, I had never heard about this place ever before.
And for those who maybe don't even know about Area 51, that's like a relatively recently declassified location, far outpost version of Edwards Air Force Base over in California in Nevada area. Where they have test flown like the SR-71 and other stealth aircraft. And then a lot of people think that also UFOs have been hidden and tested over there, and aliens are deep under the ground in bunkers. And because, I mean, here's the thing. They fly out the employees they fly them out every day from LAX with blocked out windows, the same unmarked plane. And then when they land, they get into buses with blacked out windows and drive onto the base. So it already they want to be stealthy with their tech for, reasons, military reasons.
So that's an actual thing?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But it just makes people go, what are you selling?
I mean, like, we've seen it in the movies and stuff, but could you imagine, like, just sit here and, like, let it seep in for a second?
Mm-hmm.
If you had a job that was so highly classified like that, you went to the missus, and there's just like, hey, I got a new job offer. It's fantastic. It's great. She's like, what is it? I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, like, yeah, okay, come on. We always, that's your, like, that's your person. So you're always like, well, I mean, come on. You tell your person. She's like, no. Like, this is.
No, I have top secret classification.
Top secret.
Here's the thing. Top secret classification really got boring very quickly when I realized that most of the jobs I was applying for necessitated top secret class.
It's like everything was top secret.
Yeah, it's the kind of stuff where you just like leave your cell phone outside the building in like a Faraday cage or something. So, and then you just go into an icebox for 6 months as they do a huge background check on you. It's interesting.
That's also such interesting information. Oh my goodness,
you're hearing from another life of mine. But let's talk about Rudloe Manor.
Oh man,
and maybe I'll sprinkle in some more nuggets throughout the thing. And before we dive in, just like we did last week with Circleville, I do want to say that some of the facts here are a little muddy. It's hard to decipher what exactly is fact and fiction. So we did our best to really ride the line and make sure that we are putting forth the strongest and most factual story around Rudloe Manor. So for what it's worth, I will quickly define this, but RAF stands for the Royal Air Force. And there's a couple other acronyms that I'm going to be using and defining throughout. But RAF Rudloe Manor, formerly known as RAF Box, was a Royal Air Force station located between the settlements of Box and Corsham in Wiltshire, England. I'm going to do my best to pronounce these towns properly. The station was built on top of quarries where Bath stone had once been extracted. In the 1930s, some of the tunnels had been converted for use as a central ammunition depot. Rudloe Manor is famous for its underground military town, where millions of pounds were spent leading up to World War II converting these old stone quarries into the world's largest underground factory. The vast caverns were nearly, get this, 2,250,000 square feet that were divided into many smaller chambers where the Ministry of Aircraft Production built the Beaverbrook Underground Aircraft Factory for the Bristol Aeroplane Company and other companies of that nature. So basically, the history here is that there was a large stone quarry and they repurposed it for an underground military base where they would manufacture aircraft and the like. You're talking 2,000 square feet is a huge home. 2.25 million square feet.
Yeah.
Like,
the fascinating thing is all underground too.
All underground.
Holy hell.
Yeah.
It's
come out looking like a vampire after a few days of work.
And also I'm just like, why'd I have to be underground? That seems so much harder.
Yeah.
I mean if you want to keep things super secret, but then again, it's like everyone else just like build a base and then fence it off.
Right.
But here's like, it's underground.
We don't want to be seen by satellites. But sir, how are we going to communicate? You're right. One long phone line.
You know all the people that want to like, charge Area 51 and all that kind of stuff, like open the gates, whatnot. It's like, how do you do that for here? It's like, everyone pick up your shovels. We're digging down.
We're heading down to Rudloe Manor. See, that's why when you asked about a manor, I think the same thing. I think this nice, haunted manor, I
mean, I get the Charles Xavier, X-Men First Class type of place.
Or like Crimson Peak or whatever that.
Yeah.
But nah.
No.
Maybe there is a small house up top, but then you go ding.
Oh,
elevator
takes you down.
In.
Damn, that's so cool.
But yeah, it has been the home for many members of MOD, or I'm going to refer to them as MOD throughout this episode, but home to these many members of MOD for these many years. Now, MOD is the Ministry of Defense for the British government, the department responsible for implementing the defense policy set by Her Majesty's government, and it's the headquarters of the British Armed Forces. So the RAF's secret services were headquartered in Rudloe Manor and were known to send officers out to interview UFO witnesses. So there is a history here, a tangible history of UFO research and interviews.
See, that's what's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're spending government resources to go talk to people who said they saw UFOs.
Yeah.
That, you know what I mean? We have covered episodes where, like the previous one, someone's sending out essentially death threats to a woman and her kid, right? The letter episode.
Right.
And
Circleville.
And everyone's like, here it's like, oh, you say your cousin's aunt, sister, mother twice removed saw a UFO. We gotta talk to them.
Yeah, the Men in Black show up.
Okay.
Or whatever the UK's version of that is. The Men in Green.
The Men in
Plaid. I don't know. But yeah, here's one thing. On one hand, that sounds very intriguing, right? It piques your interest. But on the other hand, of course, counterintelligence is going to be out there. They're going to say, hey, what did you see? Maybe that was a stealth aircraft from an enemy country. Or maybe it was an alien. I don't know. Maybe it's worth putting the net out there.
Or maybe it's one of their aircrafts.
Right. What do you know about our stuff? It's a good point.
Yeah, okay. That kind of makes more sense.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, though, this kind of activity is what led a lot of people to claim that this was England's equivalent of Area 51, where extraterrestrial evidence was being hidden. So not only are they investigating, but they are now hiding this information. Now, of course, the MOD denied this claim, but in 2007, many declassified files came out from the National Archives that confirmed that the site was used for UFO investigations back in the 1950s. So again, you can lean both ways. I think that's why the conversation is still open, because believers definitely say, okay, I'm right. And then the practical pragmatists might be like, well, we just don't know. They're declassifying that, yes, these investigations happen. That doesn't verify that,
Right.
And so hence, UFOs exist, right? It's hard to say.
Could you just, imagine, you would just assume, right? Like the President of the United States and maybe, Her Majesty in the United Kingdom, just they know. If just
they gotta know, right?
If you're to be like, Alfredo, I run for an election, everyone for some reason voted for me, it makes no sense.
Would you reveal the book?
I was elected.
The president's book?
Huh?
Would you unveil the book? Would you be like, I'm going to break NDA.
On my first
Aliens
day,
exist.
I would step into that office and go, so do they exist? And then be like, sorry, what, Mr. President? You know the damn question. Do they exist?
They would be like, another one. Every time they come in, every president, that's the first question.
The guy's like, yes, they do.
They go, hold on, sit down, Mr. President. They roll an old PowerPoint. Beep, beep, beep. Hello and welcome to the video. Today I'm going to announce for you, sit down, I hope you're braced, because aliens do exist. And it's like some 1920s like...
So you've just become president and you're curious about aliens.
You've just become president and you're curious about aliens. Well, let me tell you, son, they do exist and they are quite friendly. Their hands are very big.
But very tiny.
Very
With
tiny,
big
huge hands. Opposite of baby hands. Anyway.
That's just so wild. Just having that downloaded into your... I mean, along with the plethora of like, we did do this. We didn't do that.
Right.
We have this technology. Like, can you imagine the download? I feel like in 4 years, I would just be like, I don't want to know anything anymore.
Right.
I don't want to know.
It's not the stress that makes them go gray. It's all the information being dumped in them.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's been something on my mind since I was a kid, which was like, if there was one reason to be president, it's the president's book of secrets, right? That supposedly exists, filled with all the president's treasures, and treasures being knowledge. But man, I don't know.
It's too much.
It's too much.
I honestly, as much as I want to, I wouldn't want to.
I feel like the Queen knows something, because she's been around. You know how many presidents the Queen has seen?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
I want her diet plan. You know what I mean? Like,
what are she eating?
What's she eating? Or is she being kept alive artificially by these aliens?
God.
She's drawing on the youth of the extraterrestrials.
Oh my God. That's some weird sci-fi stuff. Just goes down to the base and just absorbs the energy of the alien, and they just shrivel up.
As I was saying the words, I was surprising myself. Okay. Now, coming back to these declassified documents, set the tone right. Okay, it was verified in 2007 that the UFO investigations were happening back in the 50s, and sometime before these files were released, the MOD announced that Rudloe Manor was no longer in use. Coincidentally in timing, I think. Now, to this day, the manor is surrounded by barbed wire, security cameras, and guard dogs. Hopefully people with the dogs, not just loose dogs out there.
Like, all right, well, that one's expired. Bring in the next one.
Just throw out a couple more pups.
But now, why so heavily guarded?
Exactly the question. Exactly.
Like, I don't know. That's a lot of upkeep, right? If there's important stuff in there, you take it out, or you just destroy it, you level it.
Right. Now, that all this security is exactly the question. It has led a lot of people to wonder what is being hidden. Why is it still being so heavily guarded? Now, it could be, and this is a side theory kind of grabbing on my knowledge of Area 51, that it could be security theater, so as to say they're keeping up appearances on this decommissioned place so that way you don't look any closer. If they fully just opened it, gutted it, and said, whatever, it's a tourist trap now, you might start looking around and saying, well, you still got to have something, right? You still have to have some place, and they don't want you finding whatever Area 52 is or what Rudloe Manor 2 is,
I was just about to say that the big brain play, you know what I'm saying? It's like, look, secrets behind this place, and you go, all right, let's go drive across to the actual place.
Exactly. That, or it's still kind of active. I don't know, and they don't tell you, because that's a big place, over 2 million square feet. So here's the thing. It isn't fully just dead, though, because today the site is used by Defense Digital, who are responsible for information strategy, policy, and the delivery of information technology systems across the MOD's corporate and military elements. So there is reason to have some sort of defense there, some sort of security. It isn't just abandoned.
Okay.
But it still raises some questions for sure. So let's talk about, now that's some of the history of the place and kind of quick history. Let's talk about the investigation into this place and the potential evidence, right, of UFOs and technology being hidden.
Yeah, the evidence I'm very curious about. The investigation, just saying the word investigation into this place is surprising, because who the heck's investigating this place?
I'm about to blow your mind. Here's my nugget.
Okay.
Giorgio A. Tsoukalos. That name might not sound very familiar to you, but this man is the host of the History Channel's show, Ancient Aliens, better known perhaps as the man behind the meme, Aliens. He's got the wild hair.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yes, he is now entering the fray. We've talked about him many times, but now he's officially a part of an episode.
What?
So Giorgio here went to the site with Nick Pope, who was a former MOD UFO investigator, And they went there in order to investigate the possibility that important files related to the history of UFO phenomena are being kept hidden secretly inside this place. Now, it's worth noting, just some details here, Nick Pope insisted on waiting in the car for Giorgio due to his previous affiliation with the MOD. He didn't want anyone to think that, he might have planted something by going in prior to Giorgio's arrival.
That's very smart.
Yeah. So Giorgio was met by security only minutes after walking up to the gate and was asked to leave and turn the cameras off immediately. Like, no, you gotta go. No more investigation.
Yeah.
Now, it has been rumored that both the remains of an alien spacecraft and even an alien corpse lie within the walls of the manor. So, I wanted to talk about Giorgio's little story here because it is a bit of an investigation, but it kind of flash in the pan, mostly drama. No real hard evidence there, but I do appreciate that Nick Pope here was willing to at least try to maintain some level of, sanctity of information, right? Because he could be, if you will, compromised. But yeah, no, they were shut down right away. I mean, it's the same as if you were to start waltzing into Area 51. You see those signs that are like, don't.
Yeah.
Just don't.
You just can't. And what can you really do?
There you got people up on the hill with binoculars and snipers on you if you go too far.
Damn.
So now we have Amelia de Moldenberg, host of the Vice show Mystery Girl. She traveled to Wiltshire and met with a man named David, who refers to himself as a crop circle and UFO enthusiast, by one of Wiltshire's monuments known as Stillbury Hill. So that's where they met. David introduced the idea that Wiltshire had a high volume of extraterrestrial activity due to some kind of electricity in the ley lines. Now, ley lines aren't things that we've really taken a dive into in this show. It's not something that, has really cropped up. And I'm sure at some point we'll go deeper into it. But just some, again, Spark Note versions. Ley lines are intentionally straight alignments drawn between various historic structures and prominent landmarks that are thought to host invisible energy. A number of these ley lines intersect with Wiltshire and are believed to be the most powerful lines in all of Europe. So that is to say, a lot of people look at historical monuments from across the globe, across cultures, etc., and they discover, now it's who knows if they're kind of backing into an idea or if there's meaning here, but basically when they draw a straight line, let's say between Incan ruins and the Egyptian pyramids, and then they line up with the Great Wall of China. I'm just making one up, but it creates this perfect line that then encompasses the planet, and that's a ley line. And then there are many of those, and sometimes those intersect multiple times over things like Stonehenge, or again, the ancient Egyptian pyramids. So people start to wonder, they put value into these ley lines because they're like, well, if you draw all these lines, why is it, and some also argue that you're just kind of cherry picking.
Because the thing is, if you were to tell me that a ton of these, you drew one line and they lined up, I'd be like, all right, you just blew my mind.
Yeah.
But if they're just like, there's a million lines and then a ton of them cross over, it's well, duh, you're just drawing lines over and over and over again. You're connecting that to this, and then you're going to say, now I'm going to connect this to that. And at that point, it's like you're just making your brain, you're just making it yourself as opposed to discovering it.
And another thing too, because you're exactly right, but another thing on top of that is that there's a lot of rounding that kind of goes into this. It's one thing if this supposed ley line really intersects perfectly with a lot of these monuments and structures.
It'd be like a state over, and you're just like, you know what, it's close enough.
Right, because here, I'm going to show you a couple of ley lines just very quickly. And you can just Google ley lines. These aren't any lines in particular, but these, you see two of these ley lines cross right over kind of the south and a little bit west of the UK. And who's to say, does that exactly line up with Stonehenge and or Rudloe Manor, or is it just kind of an approximation? Basically, that all is to say is there are big arguments saying that, it's pseudoscience, but then there are other people that put a lot of faith and value in ley lines. But here's another map of ley line. I showed you one with 3. Here's one with hundreds. So when you look at it that way, you start to go,
it's just like
we are on a ley line right now.
It looks like one of the newspaper balls you make and you start putting rubber bands on.
Oh, right.
And you're a good chunk of the way through, maybe 30% through, so you could still see the earth. But I mean, there's lines everywhere.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, at that point, right, it's just like you're just drawing a ton of lines. You're just looking to make this to connect to that, and then you're just trying to connect things in different angles.
Right. I think there are some, to expose my own opinions, some cognitive biases, some logical fallacies involved in the development of ley lines, but
Right.
I do admit that there are some really interesting coincidences.
Coincidences
for
and,
certain sites.
Yeah, I'm sure
and
there's some
events
some
happening.
crazy theories around it too.
Yeah,
whatnot.
for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
But anyway, that's a little bit about ley lines. But David also points out that the number of military bases in Wiltshire is oddly high, which could allude to the idea that they are aware of the energy and activity within the area and are trying to protect it. Whether they're trying to harness it or protect it, a lot of people attribute that there's massive energy that can be pulled from these, and that pyramids pull that energy
It's
down.
humankind, so they're definitely going to try and harness it more than anything. I can't see the
Turn it into a weapon.
Government going, we're going to protect this. It's like, no,
Right.
How do we grab this to benefit ourselves and become a higher superpower? So then the energy is supposed to draw in aliens? Like, that's
So,
the weird thing.
That's another thing, is that they're usually the site of supernatural phenomenon, extraterrestrial activity, paranormal activity,
Damn.
interdimensional activity. There's a lot of things like that.
God.
Cryptids, accidents such as Bermuda Triangle at large is a pretty heavily thought after site.
Can you imagine if you just went into a mansion and it was just some weird movie that just from a bad writer that just threw everything in it together? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like space portals and aliens and they throw in cryptids and then there's a ghost wandering. It's like that. My mind would explode.
It's like the mirror dimension,
It's
but
too
for
much.
supernatural
Yeah.
events. Yeah, it is. It's a lot, but
then how do you contain that? Like, that's just come on.
Yeah, I don't know, because then you start again to reference this show, Stranger Things. It's kind of like, if you find a site and that site is being able to go to this other universe, this upside down.
Right.
Do you probe at it? Do you poke at it? Or are you actually protecting it? Or are you trying to harness it personally while also preventing it from being harnessed by others? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
It all depends on how deep you believe in ley lines, right? But
that stuff gets messy.
But it is interesting to note, I mean, to David's point here, and I don't have a last name for David, maybe it's for his privacy. I don't think it was ever publicly discussed, but there are 24 military bases in Wiltshire, as opposed to, for example, Texas. Texas is about 200 times the size of Wiltshire's area, yet Texas only has 15 military bases. So when you think of the military base per like footprint, right? That's a lot. That is a lot.
Why so many?
Well, that's what David's saying, is that it was because of these ley lines.
Does any other country do that?
That's a good question. I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have our man in a chair today. Oh,
No man in the chair. But it is worth noting that a lot of and now this is factual information here, but a lot of this information, again, is argued over. And it's hard to really find hard facts with this discussion because some of it is twisted, I think, by opinion, and some of it is hard to actually find because it's classified. And so, as always, with a show like this, we try our best to find the line and ride it between fact and fiction and not overstep what we don't know and not try to pretend we know things we don't. But that's a lot of what happens in this particular topic.
I mean, look at our last episode about Circleville.
Exactly.
It's just like, how do you have any type of evidence that you could really like believe when it's a lot of like he said, she said.
Exactly.
Like I was like, I don't know. I'll leave that up to the task force to research all that.
I mean, that's the thing, man. We're not experts in any one subject.
Yeah,
we do a different topic every week.
Yeah, we're the show that just kind of like
this is what we know. This is what people know.
Just give
right?
you a little tidbit, right? The little snippet of all these things, and then you can go and explore.
A little
deeper.
happy meal of a mystery,
Happy
comes
meal.
with a toy.
Oh,
Hey everybody, Trevor here with a couple of housekeeping notes here about Red Web and the task force at large. No major updates really, except for, hey, you want to support the show? The best way to do that is at store.roosterteeth.com. Just go ahead and search Red Web or click around if you want. And we still have a bunch of really awesome things up there, hoodies, shirts, mugs. We got the Field Notes notebook. I don't believe we have the pins anymore because you guys are amazing and you've sold those out like in the blink of an eye. But as always, when new stuff comes out, I'll let you know right here. So that way you're the first to hear about it. But with that said, I want to talk about some of the fantastic sponsors that help bring this show to your ears. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by HelloFresh. It is the new year, the time for focusing on new goals. So whether you're trying to save money or prioritizing your health, HelloFresh has your back with tons of options to make cooking simple and enjoyable. HelloFresh delivers pre-proportioned ingredients right to your door, including farm-fresh produce that arrives within the week. So you get convenience and quality, and you don't have to go out and deal with people at the grocery store. Man, is that a hassle. And HelloFresh also has a lot of variety. They offer 50 menu and market items each and every week, including veggie, calorie smart, and family-friendly gourmet options. I use HelloFresh, and it makes me feel like, and I talk about this all the time, it makes me feel like I'm an actual chef because it makes really tasty, really healthy meals, and it really doesn't take all that long. And the fact that I don't have to go to the store or the grocery store and deal with all of that, man, that just gives me way too much anxiety if I'm being honest. So the fact that it comes right to my door is awesome. Specifically speaking, I really enjoyed their crispy Parmesan chicken that I got last week. Tasty for the date night. But yeah, go to HelloFresh.com/RedWeb16. That's the number 16 there at the end. And use code RedWeb16. And that'll get you 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. You're going to be eating well for a while. 16 free meals, 3 free gifts, HelloFresh.com/RedWeb16. And again, that is code RedWeb16. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by Upstart. If you dread looking at your credit card statements, you are not alone. The weight of debt can be crippling, but Upstart can help you on your path to financial freedom. Upstart is a fast and easy way to pay off your debt with a personal loan, all done online. Whether it's paying off credit cards, consolidating high-interest debt, or funding personal experiences, over 1 million people have used Upstart to get one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date. You can even receive funds as fast as 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today when you go to upstart.com/redweb. That's upstart.com/redweb. Don't forget to use our URL to let them know that we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided by your loan application. Upstart.com/redweb. And remember, finances are important, so do your due diligence and research. And with that said, let's dive right back into the mystery. But yeah, so let's come back to Amelia and David here. They have their meeting at Stillbury Hill. Now, after this meeting, Amelia continued her investigation and met with UFO investigator Matt Williams and urban explorer Richard Cotterell right outside of Rudloe Manor gates. Now, Matt tells us that the reason Rudloe Manor is believed to be UK's Area 51 is because the manor employed a secret wing of military specifically focused on UFO activity. So this only dives deeper and kind of scratches a little bit more at that itch of, okay, they're investigating, sure, but now they have a whole secret wing of the military that's stationed here doing the research. Now that's a little bit more of an investment, right? Not just interviews and stuff.
Yeah. And also, how do you get into that division?
Right. What do I need to study to get hired there? Because that seems interesting.
How do you qualify for something like that?
Right.
Okay.
But on top of that, the military forces would deny any claims of this group ever existing and keep all of their secrets hidden within the manor's gates. Now, that kind of makes sense. You don't want to just go publicizing your secret divisions.
Not
but,
at all.
You know, with Bob Lazar, that was an episode we covered, I think, to not directly answer your question, but if you're interested, Task Force, in how one might end up at a place like this, we did an episode on Bob Lazar, who, story has it, that he worked at Area 51 as an engineer and reverse engineering this technology. So if you want a really specific and in-depth claim about a story like this, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that episode. Very fascinating. I'd be curious if there's a Bob Lazar of Rudloe Manor, actually.
Right.
And if there is, we're going to do an episode on it.
Someone that was like, I worked there, and this is what I was trying to break down.
He's like, I saw baby aliens, man. Like these little, we called them the kids, the children. It's true. And wild stuff. Anyway, just think about that episode. But so yeah, we have this secret kind of branch of the military investigating UFO activity, being denied actively by the military forces at the gate. And the most interesting theory that Matt had and shared with the group is that there was a UFO crash in northern Wales which was picked up by the military along with the previously mentioned alien corpse. So earlier when I mentioned that people were theorizing that there was an alien
like
and
in the,
spacecraft,
in the manor.
I guess this is essentially, to Americanize this real quick, this is essentially their Rockwell, the Rockwell, New Mexico crash, where supposedly a UFO came down, an alien was discovered, pulled all that in, and tucked it away at Area 51. Wild. A lot's been learned about that Rockwell crash, that it was probably just a weather balloon or a or like a high altitude balloon to kind of look for missiles coming in from Russia in the Cold War and all of that. Totally different episode, sharing what I know. But yeah, so crash in North Wales, UFO picked up, as well as a passed away little alien. I say little, I don't know. Could be like Independence Day where they're huge and tentacle-like.
Yeah. Oh, God.
But this was kept obviously such a secret because it is believed that if aliens were on our planet for about 20 days, all humans would die off of infection, so they wanted to avoid stirring up chaos. Now here's the thing. If I had a flu and I went to an alien planet and I coughed a little bit, that might start, a bit of a widespread pandemic. However, if there's only one of me or a handful of me on an alien planet, everything's a pandemic to me,
Yeah.
One gun facing out towards 1,000 guns.
Yeah.
So I feel like...
Or it's just like, even then, who's to say you can even exist in the atmosphere? Right?
True.
You could just step out, like instantly.
You step out, the gravity crushes.
I mean, like, there just could be so many different ways and things that you get affected and you could affect the plant. That's absolutely insane, right? Like if you had a cold and then all of a sudden you brought that, and an alien pandemic. Right. It crossed my mind. It's just like, we could be detrimental to each other, I guess, essentially.
Exactly, for sure. I mean, that was even explored a little bit in War of the Worlds. Old book, but turned into a film. Tom Cruise was in that one. Yeah. But basically, and I mean, you haven't watched it and you want to, spoiler alert, but
been out for a while.
They're like grabbing people, harvesting them, and looking at their blood, and then somebody had a cold, and it just starts wiping out all the aliens, and it's done. Yeah. It's again, that's something I hadn't really thought about until that that book, that movie. Anyway, so coming back to Amelia, Matt, and Richard, they were all met up, right, sharing these stories, talking about things, and they all headed out to Burlington Bunker. So they made a video about this, and in the video, the three do not make it past the fence surrounding the manor, but Matt claims he was once able to get inside. So again, we have another story of people coming to the gate of a facility, and that's kind of just where it ends. And it makes sense, security.
Yeah.
But on top of that, and this is now where it becomes from video evidence to anecdotal, Matt claims that once you get past the fence and you enter the bunker, you will be met by a metal door that leads to reflective archways that tell you where you're going. Burlington Bunker, I want to know more from Matt as to what he saw beyond these shiny arches that just say exit and entrance and infirmary or
the
cafe.
Thing is, I would love for it. Not that I want to encourage a riot or trespassing, but if there was one dude that just ran in and was like, he's telling the truth, he's right. And it's like, oh man, what else do you know? Right? Mm-hmm. It's just just even peeking through that door for half a second, you could just be like, this man knows.
Yeah.
He knows the truth.
I mean, that's the thing though. You would think all it takes is one. All it takes is one person to break an NDA, risk their life, whatever it is, to come spill a story. But again, I tease the audience, go back to Bob Lazar. I mean, if you believe that he was actually on the ground, there's a lot of evidence, anecdotal, at times to support. Some of the stories that he had were eventually part of declassified documents, right? And you see how a lot of people try to smother it down as rumor or try to paint him as crazy or what have you. And so it makes you wonder, maybe people have spilled the beans and it's just been spun as a wild conspiracy, right?
That's true. It's very easy to just be like, that guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Aliens, come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a...
It happens, man. It happens everywhere.
Damn, no.
But I'm with you, man. I would just love someone comes out. It's all real. Everything's. And then they get tased, and then they get disappeared. What are they going to do if that person gets disappeared? You're probably going to believe that.
Yeah.
He screamed. The British are coming, and then he was gone.
Oh man.
But yeah, let's talk just very briefly about Burlington Bunker. It was built in the late 1950s as a bomb-proof, radiation-proof, poison gas-proof underground city, designed to shelter up to 4,000 central government personnel, and the royal family in the event of a nuclear strike. So this is a beefy building. The bunker connects to Rudloe Manor and could be where the alien corpse is being kept, but there's no concrete evidence to prove this. But a lot of people theorize, you got this massive beef of a building connected to Rudloe Manor. It stands to reason that where would you put your most secure assets? In that everything.
But what if there was an actual nuclear strike? Everyone cramming next to the alien artifacts?
Right.
Like,
what's that smell?
Right? I'm sure there's so many there could
Sorry,
be
Your Highness, just
and everything could be
push the alien
down.
over.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's a weird place to put it, but I guess.
Yeah, maybe it's in a small room in the basement. I don't know. But yeah, so that's some of the investigative work that's gone into this building. Nothing super fruitful, as tangible as one would expect. Right,
yeah.
Exactly. But let's talk about some of the sightings around this kind of place. So Wiltshire has been a hot spot for UFO sightings since the 1950s, right? Since they admitted and declassified that, yes, we are investigating UFOs. In June of 2005, 3 white objects were seen flying above the east end of Glasgow in the cloudy sky around midnight. Now, there were reports of voices caught by electronic equipment around the time of the sighting. But I've never really heard these 2 pieces of evidence attributed to each other, UFO sightings and electronic voice phenomenon. That's interesting. But a similar sighting was seen in Lockridge, Wiltshire, in broad daylight. A man reported seeing 3, quote, white metallic craft while on a bike ride in the evening of June 21st, I assume, of 2005. So 2 sightings in the same year, 3 white objects, and one of them happening at night, one at day, the one at night coming with some odd voices being caught. I wonder what those voices were.
Yeah, I don't...
If it was military chatter, that'd be interesting.
This all just reminds me of M. Night Shyamalan's movie, Signs.
Oh,
and
yeah?
They did such a great job building tension in that movie.
I'm just picturing, the birthday clip. We've referenced that here before, but...
That was the little...
As a kid,
terrifying.
I watched that so many times, but I don't know why, but it was so spooky, but so interesting.
Yeah. Even the thing that I feel would be, if something happened or whatnot, when the... Joaquin Phoenix with the brother was watching the news in the closet because they were trying to take all that stuff away from the kids, and then he was just the news clip, there's footage of a bird flying through the air and then it just looks like it hits a wall in the sky and then it just comes straight down. They found it and its neck is snapped, and it's what would you do if there was just that all over the news?
Oh my god!
Right? I'd be you'd be oh, we crack stealth, just we have the perfect stealth craft, but at the same time, be oh my god, bro, because at that point, why are they? You'd like to think it's because they don't want to be discovered because they're just visiting and they're terrified.
Maybe just watching over the earth, kind of studying.
But then it's just was it because they're scouting and because they're dangerous and they want to be? It would just be so insane to just. The world would stop.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And analyze that footage over and over and over again. And it would just be nuts.
You know where to tune into? Red Web. Just turn it into a plug. Dude, I don't know what I would do. And I honestly think that...
If that was just on the news everywhere.
Oh, my God. I think riots would... people would lose their minds. And rightly so. That shakes the foundations of everything we know. Now, here's the thing. I almost feel maybe...
Even just that little thing, right? Yes. Where it's just it would shake
what's going on here?
Planet.
Yeah. And maybe this is just some sort of wild conspiracy theory that I'm just going to throw out there. Maybe what all of this is, and I'm gesturing to my notes to Fredo, maybe all this is just trickling out information to normalize it, right? So that way we become like a lobster being boiled alive. You're just bringing the temperature up. So that way, when the news hits, we don't all freak out, right? And scream and run around. Instead, we go, saw it coming. We knew. Right?
Look, if that's the case, I feel like the temperature has been set very lukewarm for a minute. Right? Where's that next notch? What would that next notch be?
That's a good point.
Right?
We're slowly declassifying. We have a lot of people talking about it like this. But go back to when our parents were young, our grandparents were young. it really wasn't all that long ago. I mean, if you want to go back to Salem, the witch trials, it wasn't all that long ago that there was a lot of like technophobia, a lot of phobia around science, and a lot of, and we still have a little bit of that today. But
that is true.
Through that lens, we've come quite far as the temperature escalation. Now,
damn, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I just thought about it.
Yeah. What if like generations from now, it's just like, there's some very small concrete evidence of the existence of extraterrestrials, and we all just kind of go, that's just okay. We kind of expected that.
Yeah.
I just don't know what that.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? I feel like we're on the low setting. I just don't know.
Not in our lifetime, baby.
What the beginning of that medium setting is.
Right.
You know what I mean? That switch from like high-low setting to like low-medium.
Right.
All right.
You know what? Maybe they just normalize chaos. So then you know what? Aliens exist. You're like, everyone starts screaming and rioting again, but you're like, we're also normalized to that part of it, the freak out that we're freaking out over the Super Bowl. We're freaking out over franchises. We're freaking out over aliens. Wait a minute. Aliens?
Yeah. Hold on. Rewind that. No. Keep going.
No. Next thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So we're talking about 3 metallic crafts here in 2005, but let's throw it way back now. On January 23rd of 1974, there was a large crash with bright lights over the Burlington Mountains, again in North Wales. Now, this crash was thought to be a spaceship, but the MOD denied any claims relating to of course, extraterrestrial existence. Of course, the government's going to come through. I guess it's worth questioning, when has the government ever come forward and been like, yep, they're always denying.
That's true.
That's why I think it goes without saying. There's a little...
Well, the thing that's like, you can't just sit here and be like, nothing happened because something happened. But the thing is just like, it's most likely just some government technology that they don't want to expose.
Exactly.
They tested it and that's where it landed. Or like another country is overextending their reach. And
like airspace violations and stuff. Yeah.
I think the majority of it's just that stuff.
For sure. Now, what's interesting with this crash in particular is that the MOD had 5 other distinct reports of UFO sightings over the UK in general around 10 p.m. on the same night that this crash went down. So there's something here. I mean, I think at some point we should really dive into some of the sightings here in the US before I just kind of gloss over them. But I mean, when you go back to the mid-century here, there was a lot of sightings that corroborated other sightings. And it's not like these people are phoning each other up and saying, let's phone this in. People are seeing something, right? Whether it's, just a bit of a meteor shower or a satellite or whatever it might be, or a plane.
Like there's a bunch of people that don't know each other all having the same sighting. Which, for me, I'm like, they saw something. It's probably a plane or like a meteor shower or I'm just like, damn. Oh, that's where like the skeptic in me goes, they saw something. They definitely did. But like it was something man-made.
Mm-hmm. Now, 3 of these sightings, it's interesting to note, were in the home counties. I had to look this up. The home counties are essentially the cluster of counties that surround London. One of them was in Lincolnshire and another was in Sussex. Now, witnesses reported seeing a bright light falling towards the horizon. So that would probably be the crash, the supposed crash. Again, it could also be a satellite coming down, a plane, meteor, Superman. But in May of 1974, a few months later, Brynmore John, an RFA minister at the time, in a letter to Davith Ellis Thomas, who was a local MP at the time as well, wrote this. Quote, as suggested by the descriptions reported, it seems that the phenomena could well have been caused by a meteor descending through the atmosphere, burning up and finally disintegrating before reaching the ground. Such a hypothesis would also explain the absence of any signs of impact. It has also been suggested that at 8:32 p.m. that evening, there was an earth tremor in the Burlington Mountains, which produced a landslide with noises like detonation. The latter aspect is, however, outside the field of this department. End quote. So basically, he's saying, from what we've seen, it is consistent with the reports that this could have been a meteor, and it could be that this boom sound that maybe coincided with this meteor was just coincidence. That was a landslide, but they didn't investigate the landslide because it's not their thing. I mean, It's literally what he's saying.
But the government went there still, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which I mean, I would assume they'd still go there even if it was a meteor shower.
Right.
They want to, maybe there's rare space metal or something like that.
Right.
It's stuff to look at, investigate, study.
Maybe it was a meteor made out of pure gold.
Oh.
You know, gotta cop some of that liquid gold.
Government need
Could
to
you imagine?
grab it up, get rid of the debt.
Could you imagine, like, you have some sort of, like, weird death or something where someone is found just kind of on their way to work or something, and they're, like, piled on by liquid gold, and splattered gold is all around them, and it turns out it was just a meteor made out of solid gold that came into the atmosphere, burned up,
splattered,
and splattered.
That would
liquid
be
gold.
The weirdest death.
Right, that'd be some sort of like Targaryen Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
like, where's my crown? Ah!
I mean, like you'd have to think you were probably the only person in the history of man to die that way. Like the most unique death ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like
wild. Stories would be told of you.
Oh, yeah.
But man, that would be unexpected, to say the least.
Very much so.
Ultimately, this incident was believed to be a spacecraft being concealed in the manor by the British government. So, I mean, right. It stands. I mean, we've kind of been talking about that now for a bit. But yeah.
Bring it back, store it in the manor.
Bring it back, put it in the manor. Right. So let's talk now about some of the landmarks. You know, we talked about the history, the sightings, investigations. But the explanations behind why many of these sites are located where they are, as well as their purposes, still remain a mystery to this day, but could be related to the special energy that we described earlier. And these landmarks that surround this could also be due to the ley lines that we described. So Wiltshire is the home to a couple ancient landmarks that I want to talk about that add to some of the oddities of this area. You got Stillbury Hill. It's a large chalk mound, which supposedly took 10 years and over 750 people to complete. But the significance surrounding this mound and the meaning that might be behind it is still yet to be known. So it's basically just this large mound of chalk that had to be made, and people just don't know why it was made, what it stood for, what the meaning behind it is, why it's in this area.
A giant mound of chalk?
Yeah.
That's
I guess
so random.
Maybe people think
but
that,
then
like,
also the fact,
land your craft here.
But then also the fact that it had to be made.
I don't know if it had to be made. It just kind of was. I mean, that's the thing. Like, maybe there's theories surrounding these kind of structures to say maybe this is them ushering in UFOs. Maybe this is ancient peoples saying this is a landing site. They once were here, and now we've built a temple out of whatever we can make. You know, this is our. Maybe not temple, but maybe this is our effigy to the aliens. Right. Maybe this is our statue to
here, come here.
To worship them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there is also the Westbury White Horse, which is the oldest of several white horses carved in Wiltshire. Its earliest evidence is from 1772, and it has since been adopted as a symbol of the town of Westbury and Wiltshire as a whole, appearing on welcome signs and the logo for, tourists and stuff. Now, I'm going to show you, Fredo, a picture of some of these white horses. Mm-hmm. But for the audience at home, as always, we have the YouTube channel that puts up the images, and we also have the Twitter page at RedWebPod for both of those social platforms. But here is one such white horse. Now, it isn't like carved out of marble. It's not a statue. It's basically
like carved into the land.
It's like carved into the land. So that way you can only see this massive horse drawing almost from the air. And a lot of people say that, and there are these similar drawings all around the world.
Why is the horse drawn like that though? Like if you told
me, it's like a style design, right?
Yeah. If you told me to say what this is, I'd be like, that seems more like maybe like a cat, lion.
Yeah. It is kind of long.
Tail, long. Yeah. I guess a little weird. I mean, maybe it's just because of the liberty that the artist took, but I mean, it's like, if I'm to believe a little bit, I'm like, why is it drawn like that?
Yeah,
it's a weird looking horse.
Yeah, well, that's the one in Uffington. Now, the Westbury one that I mentioned is it definitely looks more horse-like.
Oh, that's a horse.
That's just straight up horse.
That's
all chalk, by the way. So it's chalk laid on the ground.
Oh,
amongst all this grass on grassy hills. And
that's a straight up, that's a horse.
Yeah, just
the
straight
other
up
one,
horse.
I was just like, I don't know, it looks like some kind of weird cat.
Now, some of these are much older, right? Like this one had earliest evidences just in general of these white horses go back to 1772, as I mentioned. But I mean, there are designs like this to generalize. There are designs like this all over the world that have their own theories behind them. But a lot of UFO enthusiasts look to these as, now, why would they ask themselves, why would ancient peoples draw these if nothing else but to show the sky, to show either their gods or aliens coming from the skies, to draw them in, to say, here's where we are. Because otherwise you can't really appreciate such drawings unless seen from vastly high above.
More towards the gods, if anything.
I would too.
If they're that old,
Right. But then there are some, and again, I'm going to gloss over this because it's out of the scope of this specific episode, but there are places where mountains have been plateaued, right? The tops of mountains have been flattened by ancient peoples. There are drawings like birds and other animals very similar to this, but then there are also just straight lines that look like runways, ancient runways. And that's really what Ancient Aliens kind of dives into a lot.
Right,
Are these runways for ancient...
I'm why do they not going to
go into all that. But yeah, so it's really interesting to talk about these white horses, but these white horses at least can be seen from the ground, right? Because they're on hills.
Yeah. Look very unique and interesting, though.
Yeah. And the last piece of kind of structures that I want to talk about as we close the episode. Now, there are some other Stonehenge-style monuments all over Wiltshire that give off an odd energy. And I don't know if it's like...
Who is...
If you were blindfolded and placed there...
Giving this energy reading.
The scientist in me says, can you feel the energy now? Do you know where you are? Maybe it's a bit of a placebo effect, but no one has ever been able to prove any correlation with these structures and extraterrestrial activity all the way to today, but it is the crux of a lot of theories. And so I wanted to mention those. But yeah, that's Rudloe Manor, baby.
I mean, for me, it's just like, if it's a place where anyone can go, why don't a bunch of scientists just go and go, yeah, there's some weird readings here, or nah, there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on.
I'm sure someone has somewhere gone, nah.
Yeah,
and then everyone's going to go, I don't believe. Because there's a lot of people that only believe.
Yeah, they just want to believe.
Agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Rudloe Manor, a very fascinating topic. I was really happy to be looking into this one with our task force team here.
Look, it's fun for this episode specifically because we do a lot of episodes on the ground, some below water, some in the earth, and this one's up towards the skies.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool.
It was right next door to Atlantis, aka Ireland.
Yeah.
That was
a big thing about Atlantis. I was like, oh, that's where it's supposed to be. Interesting. Like that close to land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always thought Atlantis would be a little further out into the water.
Right.
So I'm just like, nah, it's right next to the land.
Theories have it all over the place. You should task force. Go listen to that episode. Let us know your thoughts. But man, this has been Rudloe Manor. I'm really happy to be, tackling some more alien-centric stuff.
Right.
Outside of the confines of abductions and that stuff. But man, this was interesting.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts on the matter?
I mean, per usual with the extraterrestrial episodes, we've done a couple. Mm-hmm. Just like, anything tangible. Just a nugget. Just a little nugget. It's usually just like, nope, there's this place and that's where it goes down. And no one knows.
Right.
No one has seen past the doors.
Someone knows.
Yeah.
A lot of people knows.
People know, but yeah. but it's like, yeah. Just want someone running out with like an alien limb or something.
Oh my God. Like Buzz Lightyear and Woody, like, hey, everybody, I'm an alien. Oh my God. There's a young
howdy.
You got an intern sprinting down from the manor going, I got his leg.
It's real. Yep.
I just want to know what alien tastes like. But hey, maybe we'll find out on a future episode of Red Web. Thank you all for listening. We're dropping that bomb. Just staring into the distance.
I'm going to bring this up the next episode. I'm not running away from this. Goodbye, everyone.
See you next week. Right back here on another Mystery Monday.